How's it going? You ready? Yeah. Awesome. All right. How's it going? You ready? Yeah. Awesome. All right. So our next presenter is Gaurav, and Gaurav's going to be presenting on Git Fu for technical writers. So please make him feel welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining in today. So back in 2016, when I joined Red Hat as a technical writer, I got introduced to the documentation as code philosophy. At that time, at Red Hat Brisbane office, we had a big documentation team with a great mix of technical writers with varied background skill, technology background. So it was at that time I found out how Git becomes problematic for us writers, and not everyone enjoys working with Git and the associated Git-related workflow when it comes to writing. And this is not just a problem. This was not just a problem at Red Hat. I'm also part of Write the Docs community. And Git-related questions frequently pop up in their Slack channel, and as well as Git tutorials and blogs and articles just to help fellow writers to help with Git. And so here's my take on how to make Git a bit easier for us technical writers. This is not another Git tutorial, but I'll be focusing more on the tasks we do daily as a technical writer and how you can make them a bit simpler and easy to remember and easy to do. So who am I? I'm the one who docs. Not like a bad guy. So minus the hat and the beard, more like this. I'm Gaurav Nelson. I'm a technical writer at StackRox. It's a Kubernetes and a container security platform company. They're based in California, and I work remotely from Brisbane. So let's directly jump into it. Creating a new branch. Before we proceed, let's just do a quick exercise. I want you all to take any of your hands and grab your ear. So, yep, and you can let it go. Thank you. So you can either take your right hand and grab your right ear or your left ear. So there are more than one ways of doing things. So when we talk about creating a new branch, the command is git checkout -b and the branch name. So when I was learning Git, and so, like, I'm comparing to a newbie who's never used Git. This command is like a little offbeat. There's nothing new in, like, not a new keyword or anything like that. But the beauty of Git is you can create your own commands and say git new branch and to create a new branch. So how you do that? You do that by using Git aliases. So Git aliases allow you to use Git commands or other bash functions and turn it into your own commands. So how to use Git aliases? You create a Git alias by running the git config command, and you specify alias an alias name and followed by the git subcommand. And to use an alias, you just do git your alias, and if it takes any options, you include it in the command, and which is same as running the subcommand. So here is an example of how to unstage files. So you can create an alias called unstage using this method. So when you create a git alias, it gets saved in your git config file. And if you open your git config file, it's alias is a directive, and all the aliases you create are just listed in your git config file. So you can either edit your like enter your command through git config command, or you can directly go in your git config and add your aliases. So git aliases not only allows you to run only git related commands, but you can use the exclamation mark and include other commands, or you can also go further and create create anonymous bash functions and run it. So in the second example, run bash functions, you're creating a function called f, and you specify, you can even add, if any of the scripts you want to run, you can add your script's name here, and then you call it, and when you use it with an alias, Git automatically runs this script for you. So in Alex's talk, he talked about running Docker on Docker. In a similar fashion, you can create an alias called alias to create Git alias. So this is the command. So you can have a Git alias command, which will help you to create more aliases. And if you were here for Alex's talk, he also used some aliases called CO and CI. So I'm not a fan of these aliases because it's just saving some keystrokes. But like I want them to be more logical. So instead of creating an alias for a new branch saying git n, which doesn't make any sense, like when you read back to it, it's if you're talking to someone new who's new to Git, if you say git new branch, he'll be like more than happy, he or she will be more than happy to like understand it and take it better. So some of the common tasks we do every day are like syncing our repositories, creating branches, doing commits and undoing commits, resetting, and like sometimes working on remote branches. When you edit a fellow worker's PR or something. So I'll just go through all of these tasks and just show some of the aliases I created, which I use daily. So the first thing I do is sync with remote repositories. So I've created an alias to sync with origin, and I also had an upstream command. So it just runs git fetch origin master, and you can obviously, if you have a different workflow for yourself, you can change it to your command. If you're from the Git pull team, you can create an aliases for whatever your workflow is. So in this example, we are running 2 commands at once for syncing our repository. And this is creating a new branch. This is the alias. So we're just taking the command, and $1 is the input we are taking from the user. So when you do get new branch and provide an input, it takes that input and creates a new branch. Other branch-related aliases I have are delete branch, rename branch, and find branch. So the find branch is really handy if you work on multiple branches. You just do git find branch and enter a few characters of your branch name, and this command will list all the branches matching to your keyword, and you can check out and complete your tasks. I also have this one, switch to previous branch. So if you're working on a branch, run this command and you go back to the branch you were on. Sorry. So add changes to previous commits. So this one is more useful if when you're doing something, you complete a task and you add a commit message, but your linting failed or you included some broken links or whatever, and you want to quickly fix it. You can just do more changes and run this add to last commit command, and it will use the same commit message as your previous commit message and commits to your branch. Another good one is undo commits. So the first one is undo till commit, and you specify a commit hash. So it runs the reset command, and it unstages all the files till the commit hash you specify. And undo last commit is just to undo one commit. So you can just change it and proceed with your work. I also use work in progress alias, which is really handy to, if you're doing something, you want to switch branches and look at something else, you can run just git WIP and it saves the work, adds a commit called work in progress, do not merge, and you can change branches, and when you come back to it, you can have an alias called unwhip, and it's ready to go again. It unstages, it undoes what work in progress does, and you're ready to go again. The next one is pushing your changes up to your repository. So if you push to origin or upstream or whatever branch, you can just configure it. This is the one I use. So you can have push origin and current branch name, or you can have force push branch command to force push. This one is to get a remote branch. So if you're working in a team where other people are make changes and you need to edit someone else's work and you have to get like a branch from remote repository, you just run this function, so you do get remote branch, it will ask for you the branch name, and you specify the branch name, it downloads and checks out for you, so you can start working again on that branch. So this one is show modified files. So I use this especially with get remote branch. So when I download someone else's work and run this file to run this command to just show what files changed, and I can easily then open it in my editor and work open. So these are some of the aliases I use, and the best part is about the Git aliases are you can share these aliases. So you can save it all these aliases in a file, and then you can include a path to those aliases into your Git config, so that everyone in your team can have and use these aliases. And it's really handy, or you can directly copy paste in your Git config file. So they're easy to share. So if you're a technical writer and like you use Git, then I'll definitely recommend you to use aliases and share with your team, because Git, not everyone enjoys Git and the associated Git workflow. So if you just make it easy for some of, if you can make it easy for people to just use them, it will be, sorry. it's a weird noise as here. I don't know. Sorry. The other thing is you should make your Git aliases easy to remember, so that not only you but someone else going through the commands or reading through it find it easier. You can chain multiple commands using aliases, so that it saves times and you reduce chance of human error. You're just running one command or a script rather than having multiple commands to run. And these are easy and easy to share. So here are some good links from which I took information from. The one is Git aliases for the gods, which is a YouTube video. It's pretty good and it explains. This one is for developers, but it nicely explains various aliases, how they work, and they also include a couple of other aliases for other purposes if you want to use. Hello? Are good? So other one, the next two ones are up your Git. Some of them are still like small aliases like CI, CO, which doesn't really make any sense, but I encourage you to download the aliases I talked about. You can go to this link, and it's an aliases file. You can include it in your path if you want, but don't include anything from the internet. So hopefully just download it and then include it. Thank you for your time. It was a short presentation, and hopefully you can say that you know some Git Fu. And if you're developers, please work with your technical writers and create some or tell them about aliases to make their life a bit easier. And if you're writers, then please do try to use it and make your workflow even better. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Gaurav. Do we have questions? We have time for some questions on Git for technical writers. Well, I have one question, and that was roughly how long do you think it took from starting out with trying out a new alias till like you tried it out and then made an adjustment and changed like the wording of the alias? Did you find it was like a long time or like something you did pretty quickly and then like sort of a long tail situation where there's a lot of changes first up and then it just relaxes into a pattern?
Yeah, so prior I wasn't using Git aliases at all. So I started by using bash functions. So I first talked to Lucas. He had a good bash RC file with lots of bash functions. So I was using that, and it's eventually like changing and working through different. Like it was just going back to again, and then I just moved on to aliases. So now I just don't use bash functions anymore. I converted all to Git aliases and use them, and it was a bit of a cycle. And through like learning and talking to other tech writers, I discovered that like having logical names makes sense rather than just saving keystrokes for that. So, yeah.
How did you discover bash aliases?
Bash aliases? Git aliases?
Sorry, how did you discover Git aliases? I mean, yeah.
So I was reading the Git SCM documentation, and that's how I discovered the Git aliases. So actually, yeah, like I said, I was using bash functions, and I don't know why I was reading Git manuals. Maybe someone shared in Write the Doc Slack channel. So I went and saw and the Git documentation that had that unstage example. So it was at that moment I tried to actually like switch my bash functions to Git aliases. Yeah, just to make it easier. So I do use bash aliases as well, but mostly it's just to like opening my main documentation repository or like a GitHub folder kind of thing. But for all the Git related things, I try to use Git aliases.
Any further questions? No? Okay. Oh, thanks again, Gaurav.
Thank you.
Yeah.